Hey Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. What I was seeing in the pre-shuffle was connected with some sort of connection. As I'm saying that, we have the Lovers coming out. We also have the Emperor. And we have Queen of Pentacles. Okay, I'm seeing kind of like fretting over something a little bit, or can be worry, it can be concern, it can be I don't know what's happening, or you can just feel like, I think maybe a little bit mentally stressed more than anything, where there can be a feeling of like things not being totally solid, or things not being totally kind of like figured out, planned out. There's something about things being still unknown a little bit, or like haven't been totally figured out yet at this point. In a way, personally for you, it can be kind of complicated, it seems. I get this sense overall of you really trying to make sense of something that you have going on within your personal life, but it can feel like at the same time it's a big deal. So even though it can be in your private life, in your personal life, it can still feel like it does have an overall, like actually pretty big impact is what I'm seeing. So this can be something that feels kind of like life defining for you at this point in time. And you may not like that this is something that's kind of up in the air right now. It feels like it's actively being worked through, so there is movement, but at the same time things have not been figured out yet, and you may not like that. You may like to have things maybe a little bit more organized. I'm seeing Aries, Virgo, and Gemini. I'm seeing something go on with you and another person, and it feels like collectively, like together, that there is movement that's happening. So yeah, it's like you guys are in the same vehicle moving along together. I'm not seeing this be like separate cars here. I guess something like, am I going to be happy with this? And that can be something that you're thinking about here. But it can also be something that you still don't know, you still haven't figured it out. And I think there's just stress with the ambiguity of it right now. And it can feel like even a little bit triggering maybe. Things are not easy between you and this person. And this can be like, maybe there's some tension within your relationships in general right now, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to relationship choices, and feeling like there's a desire for movement, but then there also being confusion when it comes to that as well, because you want to like pick the right thing here. It may feel like there's kind of, I don't know, like maybe a little bit too much going on for it's like there's too much going on to feel like maybe entirely comfortable with what's taking place right now. And although there is movement that's happening, it feels like things may get a little bit more confusing and complicated before they get more clear. And you can also know that that's sort of like part of what's unfolding here. And I think just that kind of puts pressure to know that things are not going to immediately be resolved. We're starting off with the Emperor and we're ending with the Empress. So I feel in a way like it reminds me of a drawstring being pulled, where something actually is coming together here, but it doesn't start off that way. At the same time, you can feel like what you're doing is progressive. Like what's being worked on is progressive. I think that there's a thinking about your life and the bigger picture of things, and maybe trying to find answers about that. Like, what am I actually doing right now, especially within this particular situation, and what is the long-term effect or impact of this going to be? If we're here moving together on something and trying to figure out, like, will I be happy within this, and trying to sort of figure that out, like, is this the right choice? Is that the right choice? What am I going to feel the best with at the end of the day? And also working with the part of you that's maybe learning how to figure that out, like learning how to make moves that ultimately do feel legitimately empowering. Which is also going to mean that you're choosing things that feel uplifting. You're choosing things that feel supportive. You're choosing things that feel simpatico. You're choosing the things that feel compatible, that you have like legitimate chemistry with. These are the choices that you're making, things that feel profound. I'm getting something about wanting to choose things again that feel uplifting, because it's compatible in a way where your value can be recognized in a way that you want it to be recognized. And because of having the Lovers here, this can very much have to do like within your relationship or relationships right now, wanting to be maybe perceived in certain ways for certain things, rather than being in a connection with somebody and like feeling like you have to shape shift in a way that doesn't feel authentic to you. This is like choosing the things that actually appreciate you in your most genuine energy, and you being valued for that. Like literally you just being yourself here, not having to perform or something like this. So there's definitely a focus on you choosing those sorts of things where just like you naturally can be appreciated in those circumstances. And making sure that like long term you're going to be happy with what it is that you're choosing. But I'm getting something about this process. It does not feel easy. It can feel like a lot of energy expenditure to be exploring this and to be figuring this out, all for something that you don't even know what's really going to be happening here. As I said before, I get this feeling of you going into this thing and being like, it's going to get more complicated before things clear up. So you can know you're just like going further into something right now, but at the same time, you can feel like you must investigate this. Maybe there's some drive here that you're feeling like you need to explore this. You need to know what it is. I feel kind of like an intensity about that. Like this thing has sort of piqued your curiosity in a way where you feel like maybe you don't want to back down from it. Maybe it feels worth exploring. Especially it's like if you crack this thing open and you really like fall in love with what you see inside of it, isn't it all going to be worth it? But the thing is, it's not a guarantee. Like you don't actually know here. And I think that's part of what feels challenging about this, because it's like playing with the house money a little bit. It kind of feels like. So I just get a sense of looking at this situation and feeling like maybe it doesn't feel like a safe bet to you, but at the same time, as far as like the risk that's involved in this, but at the same time, it can feel like if you feel called so strongly to explore something, and I'm not seeing the devil or anything like that coming out here, you know, like this doesn't feel like you're just being, the word senile is coming through. It doesn't seem like you're just being like erratic or impulsive within the energy. This feels like there is genuinely something kind of like pulling you through this cycle here, this thread that you have connected to. And that even though it may not be clear cut, you can feel like if you're really following your heart, it's leading you actually into this to figure out what it is, and that's going to feel worth it to you. But there's something about like you working together with this person, it's not feeling easy. Something about it feels difficult, but I think that this mainly comes from not knowing what the outcome is going to be. Maybe among a few other things here. Like if you just knew what all of this was immediately, I think some of the weight of this would be taken off, but that's like what this process is about, is to figure that out so then you can know, because there's a big unknown, maybe a few unknowns here that you are in the process of investigating. But I'm seeing you also learning more about yourself and what you click with and what you connect with and what you're going to feel happy with long term. There's something here about adulthood, about long-term choices that are being made, you choosing the things that you're going to feel actually happy with for a long time. And that being part of this process. This isn't just like, I'll do this today and feel happy with it today and then not care about it tomorrow or feel a disconnect tomorrow. This is more so like, I may have to put in work now when there may be some delayed gratification here, but if I'm gonna feel happy with this long term, meaning like maybe it's like right now relatively kind of uncomfortable moving through this process, but then long term, what if you're happy with it? Uncomfortable now to be like really satisfied long term, wouldn't that be worth it? Because I'm seeing it be approached in this way where you are being strategic and you're playing chess here, not checkers. And not that there's anything wrong with playing checkers, but you can feel like at this point within your life, you do want something to feel sustainable and for you to be actually like fulfilled, connected, happy about what it is that you're choosing and like signing on for. Because you may want to be building in a serious way, and not that you haven't before, but it can be this point of like, if I'm going to be getting involved in something here, I want to make sure that I really do feel like a sense of connection doing that. Like this is connected with my sense of purpose, and that this feels like something that I'm choosing because I actually feel connected with it. And when I check in with myself and I am discerning things myself, this is what I prefer and this is what I choose, all just from a place of I want that and that appeals to me and I feel connected with that. So it's like checking in with self, having this moment and saying like, are we gonna feel good with this? Do you feel happy working on this and figuring this out? Because I think at this point, like maybe you're working with yourself, choosing things deliberately within your life that at the end of the day, you're gonna be happy you chose those things because you did it for the right reasons, and you're taking the time now to really like check in and figure this out, even if it's not the most straightforward process. But again, it can feel necessary for you. Like it feels like this process is now appropriate at this time, because I'm seeing there be a lot of seriousness when it comes to what you're building. Like you don't want to just slap something together and be like, wow, it's a whole structure that I built, and then it just feels empty to you. This is like, even if it takes longer, if this feels meaningful to me, it's going to be more worth it to me. Because even if it takes longer to put everything all together, it's going to feel very deliberate the way that I did this, like handmade. Rather than you just going for something and feeling like it's as fast as something can be put together, and then it wasn't built with the right material and it like looks like a structure, but it doesn't feel like it has a solid foundation. This is really taking the time now, but I get something coming through about this being slow. And there can be a part of you that may not like that maybe doesn't prefer it, but it can feel like that's the only way that this is going to be done, is having to do it more slowly. So that means that this can be an elongated transition that's taking place. But I feel kind of like this process, it doesn't give you any other option to build. This is the only way that it can be built, is slow for some reason. Some processes, they can be sped through. This one, for some reason, it can't be. And you can even maybe look at, like, maybe before you have sped through processes and then you see the results of those things and you're like, well, I don't really want those types of results. I really want to make sure that I'm happy with this at the end of the day. So building in this way and exploring and discovering in this way, it's going to like cultivate that for you. A feeling at the end of the day like you really chose the right things for the right reasons, and then you like those results, you get the right results, the ones that you're like really looking for and really going to feel connected with at the end of the day. So this takes a lot of reflection, it takes a lot of review, and it takes a lot of deliberation. Because you're, in the meantime, it's like you're finding a lot of answers and things are starting to make more sense to you. And even though it feels like there's still a process that you're undergoing where things are still... It's like this game that you're playing, this process that you're in, where all of the cards are like flipped upside down. And you have to like one by one, or like the puzzle pieces are all flipped upside down. One by one, you have to go through and figure out like which one goes where. But something is happening. Something bigger is happening. It just feels like you get like one puzzle piece a day, and then there's like a lot of focus on each material that's being built with right now. And you may not like entirely know what exactly that's going to be at this point too, which is, I feel like that's where this feeling of like risk is involved. But at the same time, you will know for sure that you're following your heart doing this. And like, can you really be led wrong if that's what you're doing? I don't think so. So that's really where we have been within this. And maybe that's also something different for you too. Like maybe you're moving through a process where you're like really connected with yourself and you really have decided that you're going to follow your heart because that's the best way for you to do things now, while also still being practical and decisive and paying attention to what's going on. But that this is going to build something better than what you have built before. Like it's going to be really high grade, high quality. And you're getting to know yourself in the process as well. Where maybe before you were like picking things but you didn't really know, or it's like, how is somebody supposed to decide this or figure it out? So you're just like choosing things. Now it feels like connecting with your heart, and when you have different options in your hands, like really feeling into which ones are going to be the best ones for you. Like really weighing the options, which I think just takes time. Because this isn't just like an intellectual way that you're moving through this. We actually don't have any swords here at all. We have a little bit of everything else, but not that. So the way that you're moving through this is like different. It's not just like thinking, like rationalizing intellectually what's going to be the best strategic in that way. This is more so connected with your heart chakra and connected with your first house energy. I think this brings up a review of like how you'd been doing things before, how you're modifying things now, because you're in a process that I think is requiring you to change and kind of do things a little bit differently, but you can feel like this is the better way to do things. Like this is a more grounded, mature, self-aware approach, even that you're taking to your relationships. So you actually feel happy and satisfied and connected with what you're involving yourself in. And even though it's taking some time and it can feel really uncomfortable because of that, at the same time, it can, when you check in, feel empowering to you, because these are your choices that you're making. And you're not just like blindly going into this and just like choosing things randomly. It feels very deliberate. And I think that you're still also like finding things out about yourself. It's like, it just feels like before, when you were decorating the structures within your life, you were just like randomly picking colors and furniture and this and that. And it's like a mix of like what you saw this person do and this person give you advice about that. But there wasn't like so much of a checking in. And now there is, like, you are the sole designer. and you're only impacted by your own preferences and desires and sense of connection and compatibility now at this point. So it feels like even though it takes longer because you're not really going off of the influence of anybody else, you're going off of your own influence, which takes time to check in and connect. So you're not like bypassing by being like, what do you think? What do you think? This is more so like you're checking in with yourself and being like, you put the color on the wall, maybe then you look at it and you're like, I don't know, like something feels off. So it's like you got to repaint it, and it's like you're taking the time actually to repaint it. You're not just leaving things up there because it's like already up there. So it's like, that's why this process is taking longer. But then when you get the end results of it, you're gonna love the way that everything all comes together because it's so deliberate. But that feeling of like not having the big plan and not having it all together yet, when it's like something that you're doing, there's self-trust that's involved in this. But what you're learning is that this is actually the way to do it. And I think that's something that you're teaching yourself that maybe you weren't taught how to do before. And this is how you build real things that you have real connections with and to within your life. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.